All right, we're back on here. We're back on here. Last time I was on here, the month of February, Black History Month, and now I know it's Juneteenth week, and I knew I had to get back on here. But sometimes I have to be off of here for a while and actually deal with internal battles and internal struggles. I can't just be on here talking all the time with everyone and speaking to everyone. I have to deal with myself, make sure I'm right, make sure my mind's right, make sure my spirit's right, and then I can get back on here and speak with everyone, okay? Right now, we are approaching Juneteenth. Juneteenth is in 2 or 3 days. I want to say 2 days as far as the official holiday. And we still haven't been paid our reparations. We don't need to go through how many years, how many centuries we worked for free. We don't need to go through the physical abuse that we went through. We don't need to talk about how when we come out of slavery, we're being taxed without representation, taxation without representation. We're being taxed. We're not even getting money for schools or hospitals or roads or everything. We had to create all of our own cities. We're not talking about the time of everyone having to sharecrop when they're working for less than even the Chinese immigrants who are coming over here. We're not talking about the countless deaths and bombing of different towns like Tulsa, Oklahoma, Allensworth, California, many other black towns all over the place. We don't even need to talk about segregation and Jim Crow, 50s and 60s and all of that. And even what we're dealing with now from the police killings, I almost want to say on a monthly basis, definitely a yearly basis, we're just seeing innocent black people shot, killed, excessive force. And these aren't things that you can just tweak with a different law. You, as a black person, have an enemy. And I'm going to tell you something, black men. Black men. You have an enemy regardless if you want to admit it or not. Black men and women, you have an enemy regardless of if you want to admit it or not, because white culture understands something about who you really are. You are the original people of the earth. That's just what it is. You do not have to accept it, but they understand that there may come a point in time where you realize it, and if you ever realize it, they fear what that might mean. If enough of us realize what that means, you're not supposed to be bowing down to this culture. White culture has an inferiority complex. This is why when you really deal with white people, they always have this thing where they're wondering if people of color like them wherever they go. You can read countless narratives where they would approach natives and indigenous people in different areas, and they would talk about these people. Oh, some of these people were really hostile. No, they weren't hostile. They saw what you were trying to do to them, and they said, we see where this is going. We don't want you around. Oh, that's hostile. No, we see y'all as on some nonsense. Y'all showed up and already telling us we evil. Tell us we need to accept your God. We just met you. We don't know who you are. We've been existing for centuries. Dude, there's no, there's no reason to worry about what white people feel about you and what you're fighting for your people. You have an enemy, they're against you. Accept that you have an enemy, admit white supremacy as a system, and then you can move forward with thinking of constructive ways to fight that system. One of the constructive ways I came up was Key's ministry. Key stands for Know Your Story. Black Christians have to know their story. You need to know the story of Christianity for one, but also the black man and woman's role in that story. I'm going to tell y'all something. White supremacy is birthed from Christianity. Not true Christianity, of course. This is why I call it white Christianity, because it was a Christianity that was attached, was given to the white culture from the popes and from the governments that ruled them. Remember, white culture in the 1400s, right before we really go into slavery, in the 1400s, white people didn't even have a Bible yet. White people did not get their first Bible. I think it was 1450, the Gutenberg Bible or whatnot. John Wycliffe had started a Bible, but it wasn't being handed out to everyone. The Gutenberg Bible was just like the Catholic priest could have it. And it wasn't until about like 100 years later, like the I want to say like the 1500s, where white people actually started getting Bibles, right? They started getting Bibles. Now, why is it that at this same time that they're getting Bibles, they're receiving the Bible for the first time? They no longer have to just go to Catholic Mass every Sunday and listen to the priest tell them what to do. They now have the Bible. Why is it that when they first get the Bible, their next move is to go and enslave all of us? They left there in the 1500s with the Bible, and they took that thing with them as a weapon of war to the Americas, to the Africas, Australia, and even parts of Europe. Why? This is the Christian religion that you hold dear. I know a lot of y'all on here who listen to this are churchgoers every Sunday. Some of you aren't Christian at all. I know that too. And you still can listen to this because Christianity is that's the basis of this form of Christianity was the basis of this country. The justification was you're dealing with ignorant people. They have not had the Bible. They just got the Bible. They've been just controlled by the church, the Roman Catholic Church, the popes. That's all they've had for the last 800, 900,000 years. And they're just now getting access to the Bible. This is their first time reading the scriptures for themselves. Some of the scriptures they've never heard before in Catholic Mass on Sundays. Okay, let's go little history real quick. If you're a Protestant Christian, that Protestant means protest. Protest. You protested against something. What did you protest against? You protested against the Roman Catholic Church. Why did you protest against the Roman Catholic Church? Because the Roman Catholic Church was basically, they had a monopoly on Christianity. They were just controlling Christianity, telling everybody what Christianity was and wasn't, and basically telling everybody how they had to practice Christianity. And if you didn't practice Christianity in that way, you would simply you'd be murdered. The Roman Catholic Church had nothing to do about being led by the Holy Spirit. Initially it did. Initially, there was some good there. They had some positive things. But no. After the 300s, the first century Christians who were in Rome, first century Christians who were in Jerusalem, whatnot, they were sincere and genuine. They all got murdered. All the first century Christians were murdered, man. Even the disciples were all murdered. Second century Christians murdered. There's a good book y'all should read. John Fox's Book of Martyrs. He breaks it down by century of the Christian martyrs, from children being thrown in boiling pots of oil, from whole families being thrown into the Colosseum if they would not renounce Christianity. The first and second century Christians were a different group. They not who we are today. You walk into any church in America, you're not seeing no first century Christians. As much as you can fool yourself all you want talking about you're a first century denomination, you are not a first century denomination. First century Christianity was birthed in the oppression. They were not allowed to meet at many different times in the first and second century. It's like, hey, if we get caught meeting this Sunday, we all can go to the Colosseum and they still would meet. It's a different form of Christianity in that first and second century. By the time you get to the 300s, you now have the Roman Catholic Church starts. Constantine. You can go look up this man, Constantine. He begins something called the Roman Catholic Church. Rome's Catholic Church. Catholic, the word Catholic means universal. So we're basically saying Rome's universal church. Now that's not really biblical, is it? Why is it Rome's church? Right? The disciples, the day of Pentecost, all that happened right in Jerusalem. Why are we calling it Rome's church? Why is it Rome's universal church? That was their plan. That was Rome's plan with Christianity. They said, hey, we're going to take this Christianity. We want our empire to go by this religion, but the way we want it to be ran. So basically, Rome's universal church, and that's what they did. Rome took their church universally, and the way they did it was through warfare, oppression, creating a white Jesus. They said, hey, since we're going all over the world to all these other people of colors, 90% of the world is people of color, okay? White people are minorities. People have color. Let me just say that. People have color. Something happened to certain people where they lost their color. They're not in their original state anymore. They know this. They are not in their original state anymore. People have color. The black people you have skin tones from dark black. You have dark black like this, all the way to you have black people who are white light. I dealt with a brother the other day. He asked me for some money. He was albino. You could just tell. He looked from a distance. He looked white, but when he turned around, I saw his face. I thought, oh, that's the brother. And he talked like a brother too, but he was albino. He was white skinned. Y'all all know that there's certain black people who have vitiligo. White people lost something when they lost their color. Professor James Smalls, you all can go look him up. He said they might have, I believe they lost more than just their outward color. I believe they also lost some internal compassion, some internal emotional capacity, some internal spiritual capacity. Because at some point, black people, you're going to realize, I'm not the same as a Derek Chauvin. And no man I know would do what Derek Chauvin did. No woman I know would do what Amber Geiger did. I've dealt with, listen, I know certain women who have been in a situation where they were startled and had a right to be startled, and they didn't pull out no gun and shoot somebody. Let's go back on the history for a second. When white people get the Bible, because I'm kind of jumping all over the place now, y'all. When white people get the Bible in the 1500s, this is the first time. The first thing they do, they take the Bible all with them everywhere they go. They take the Bible with them and a white image of Jesus with them everywhere. Because they're like, hey, either you're going to accept this, us as friends, or we're going to come in here with that military. Either it's the missionary or the military. It's one or the other is what they're going to do, okay? Their justification, why were all these white people able to go and kill people in the name of Christ? They believed that they were the chosen race of people as Europeans. They believed that, hey, all the people that were meeting of color, they don't follow Christianity like our version of Christianity. Therefore, they're evil. We have a God-given responsibility, a right, a duty to either bring them to Christ or off with their heads, if necessary. We're cleansing the earth for God. Listen to what I'm saying. White supremacy comes from that concept of we have to go cleanse evil from the earth. And since this is cultivated from white thought and white psyche, they literally put themselves in a position where they were against everybody in the world who was of color. This is why you can go to Australia, they had the same oppression. Now, it's different oppression in different areas, but I'm saying when white people showed up there, the first thing they did, start oppressing the people. When white people came here to the Americas, they started oppressing the people. Go read the account by Bartholomew, a short account of the destruction of the Indies. He talks about Jamaica, Cuba, Haiti, which was then called Hispaniola. He talks about when Christopher Columbus gets over there, he's like, look, all the native people there were the most peaceful people on the earth. No jails, no rapes, no murder among the people. He said they're not greedy. They're giving to us. And he said we pretty much just wiped them out. You go read a short account of the destruction of the Indies by Bartholomew. I can't think of his last name, but Bartholomew is his name. If you find it, you can find it online. This is a very popular account. But he writes, he just says, hey, look, the native people, these indigenous people that we're meeting, these people of color that we're coming across, these are the nicest people in the world. And he said not only that, they're actually the most godlike people on the earth. And the same thing is said about the natives when they come and meet them in America, in North America. Not just down there in the islands, but up here in North America. And they just wiped them out. They just fought these people, and the justification was they're cleansing the earth. Because it don't matter how nice you are, it don't matter how peaceful you are, it doesn't matter that you have a society already where there's no jails, no murders, women can walk the streets all night and not have to worry about nothing with safety. It doesn't matter about none of that. Y'all don't submit to our God called Jesus Christ. We'll be back with the military. And that happened a number of times. This is all over the world. China, Japan banned their borders to European ships for about 150 years. They said, you know what, we dealing with these people, there's too many accidental murders, our kids end up missing, so-and-so end up hurt, there's random diseases popping up, and all y'all talking about is accidents. Y'all just don't come back here. Y'all can't come back here. And they couldn't come back to the Japan. Japan Island for 150 years, and I think when they came back with the military, and they forced Japan to open up their borders. But what I'm talking about when I'm on here talking, and some of y'all, when y'all talk with me in person, you're saying that I'm sounding like I'm against white people. It doesn't bother me y'all say that. I understand where y'all is coming from, but that's, I can't, cause that's not it. That's not what it is. What we're talking about when I'm talking about white supremacy is I'm talking about the evil in white culture that has oppressed people everywhere they go. There's a reason why they did that. A psychiatrist by the name of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Y'all can argue with me. I'm giving y'all a psychiatrist, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. She dedicated her life to studying racism and the reasons for why white people were racist to everybody they met in the world, not just black people. I'm not telling y'all about an evil that's just happening to us. This is how they feel about everybody, because we as black people, we know white people don't like immigrants. They don't like the Asians. They don't like the Mexicans. They don't like the Indians. They don't like the Koreans. They don't like anybody. They don't really like each other. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you're a group of people who feel like you gotta cleanse the world and cleanse the earth and everything outside of white is evil, you are against the whole world, and that's what we see with white people. You have people like Bill Gates, a white person. You're the last group of people known to get to the planet. You're the last group of people to show up on the history books anywhere, from Arab accounts, African accounts, and even white people's accounts. You're the last people to get here, and you and your culture are talking about population control. You're not even a part of the 90% of people of color on the earth, and you're talking about population control. You're going to have to realize you're dealing with a sick culture and an evil culture. And black Christians think that you can just ignore the evil long enough, be good enough, go to church more, pull your pants up more, become more educated, start your own businesses, just do your own thing, and the evil's going to leave you alone. You have to deal with evil. If you do not deal with evil is like weeds. They start growing up. They'll come and take over your whole house. And that's what we have with white supremacy. Listen, everybody, everything that we've gotten in this country, black people fought for it. Anything you want to get, you want police to stop, you're going to have to fight for it. You want reparations, you are going to have to fight for it. You have a culture who's against you. The only good thing I can tell you, black people, is you are the original people of the earth. You are naturally more dominant. You are naturally, but you have to know it to bring that to existence. If you don't know it, it's as good as done. And that's why I tell you, black men and black women, their fear is that you will learn one day who you really are, that you will internalize it, and then, because at that point you no longer accept any nonsense from these people. You're no longer confused by anything they throw at you. It doesn't matter what a white person does to me, says to me, I understand it. Do you understand what I'm saying? I understand why they're doing what they're doing. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing broke this stuff down. She studied her whole life why white supremacists do this, and she realized it came from a inferiority complex. White people's greatest fear is that they're going to be wiped off the planet Earth. There was an article in the Sacramento Bee that all around the nation, white numbers in every single one of the 50 states, white numbers are declining as a people. They're declining because white supremacists want to just be amongst themselves. They want to just create a group where it's just white and they want to control everybody else, but you can't do that in the world. The world's 90% of color. These people are continually populating the earth. Be fruitful and multiply. But white people are like, no, we just gonna stay over here in this corner by ourselves. And their greatest fear is being wiped out. So if their greatest fear is being wiped out, they realize every time a white woman gets with a black man, that child is black. Every time the white woman gets with a person of color, that person becomes a person of color. The blood, y'all, our blood is very powerful. We are the naturally, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing said, we are the naturally dominant gene of the earth, and we can wipe white people out just through sex. In one generation, you have all these white people. In one generation, if all white women just went and got with a black man, there's no more white seed being produced. That's a very fragile group. That's a very fragile system. Remember, I said something happened to them. That's not even a thought that any other group in the world has to have. Like, oh, we have to control everybody else because they're so different than us. Everybody else is of color. Everybody else is of color. They're the only ones who aren't. Dr. Kaba Kamene says, he says, look, the first thing they should have done when they came out of the Ice Age is get with the biggest, blackest person they could have got with and come back into the human family. Y'all listen to what I'm saying. Black blood is the human family. People have color. Look at people like Patrick Mahomes. Got a white mom. Got that black blood, though. Got that black father. He's on the field doing stuff we've never seen before. Look at J. Cole. Got a white mom. He has that black blood, though. He does what he does because of that black blood. He wouldn't even be talking the stuff he talks. He couldn't talk the stuff he talked if he had only white blood. Drake. Drake got black blood in him, right? Drake wouldn't be the person he is if he didn't have that black blood. Black people wouldn't be messing with him like that. First of all, you get that black blood, you come back into the human family of existence of 90% of people in the world are people of color. You no longer have to be a part of this group that is trying to isolate and seclude themselves from the world. This is why, you know, the interracial thing, it's not about is interracial relationships wrong or right. There's always, dude, we're the people of the earth. We've been here forever. We've intermarried and intermixed with every group of people there is. Asians, Indians, Mexicans, whites. We created everybody. People come from black people. Go listen to a man named Dr. Clyde Winters. Dr. Clyde Winters, he has so many books out too. But he speaks a lot about just how, you know, the people of China, the original people of China, still to this day, the original inhabitants of China are there and they're black. The original inhabitants of Japan are there and they're black. The original inhabitants of Australia are there and they're black. The original inhabitants of America, where we know we're here. We know we're here, you know, and we got mixed in with the African tribes that got brought over here to slavery. That's the uniqueness of us. We have a mixture of all of these different African tribes in us, man. But we've mixed in with everybody, man. And everywhere that there is on the planet, black people were already there first. I mean, we're talking about we've been here forever, man. We've been here forever. White people, our relationship with them has just been like the last 400, 500 years. If you really look at this thing on a historical scale, you know, if we start off and we were made in the image of God originally as black people on January 1st, you know, and throughout the time of history, like we move on throughout history and we're like in September and the end of September, and then white people showed up on October 1st, we're like in the afternoon of October 1st. That's how short the time has been for white people in our lives. Like we've had history for years without white people, civilizations for years without white people. White people are very new to us. All right, I'm gonna leave y'all with that for right now. Y'all, we're gonna have to focus on our reparations. I'm gonna do a video completely about that, just a little history breakdown. I'm freestyling it as I normally do. Get on here and freestyle, sometimes talk with y'all. Get back on here with y'all real soon. Peace, y'all.